Hello, music listeners, music enthusiasts, and people that didn't know I had merch until this video. We're gonna do an album review, which is not something that I have yet done for the channel, but there was going to be a first one eventually, and so after a lot of procrastinating, I have decided to go ahead and start doing it. I do feel that an important clarification does need to be made. As of now, I'm not really going to have any sort of like numerical rating system. It's more of an album discussion than a review. I don't view myself as a critic, and I don't see any reason to talk about things I don't like, so rating them numerically would kind of feel redundant in a way. But today we're talking about Is Yours by Swaine and Eric Godlow, the recent installment from Toronto rapper Swaine, and it kind of adds on to a very lengthy and comprehensive lists of projects up until this point. But this one is part of a trilogy, so it ties in with the album before it, and there will be an album afterwards that kind of is the conclusion to all of this. So, Is Yours? How do I feel about it? We're gonna go track by track and just kind of discuss and talk about it. And then if you all have listened to it, once you're done with this, let me know how you feel about it, and we can continue the discussion outside of the video. So the album starts off with Enlighten Me, which kind of sets the tone and precedent for the rest of the album. It is a very angry and aggressive track, and you will be finding a lot of those on Is Yours. And, it's kind of enjoyable to hear Swaine kind of poking fun at, music trends, like what is happening on TikTok with how music is promoted, and sort of the shallow promotion on other social media platforms as well. And it takes jabs at the mindsets surrounding creating music and how toxicity is kind of permeated into the scene with how people promote and produce music. And it's got a pretty catchy hook on it, and some really great singing from Swaine, which I have only enjoyed his singing more and more as he has steadily introduced it to more and more of his tracks. And the production here from Swaine and Godlow feels like its melodies are straight out of a video game. It's a really good intro, and it sets a really good tone for the rest of the project. And then Enlighten Me is followed up by Pie, which has some low-key and spacey keys that are laid underneath some pretty hard-hitting boom-bap production, and it's one of the most entertaining deliveries and flows on the project, where Swaine shows off more singing in the middle of the track with this hypnotic and layered hook, but there is a lot of emphasis on Swaine's ability to write bars, to deliver them confidently, and in an entertaining way. The drums on this track are very punchy and complex, and they're maybe my favorite part of the production, but Swaine, once again, does a really good job of setting the tone here and letting you know what kind of album this is supposed to be. And then we have Wasted, which takes a bit of a grimy, dark lo-fi approach on things, and Swaine takes this tone and atmosphere to boast a bit, directing his anger into confidence and his place in the scene and the impact he's made and the sort of legacy that he has preserved, which is then followed up by What Do You Think? And the strings really help establish a moody and intense tone, and after some really great bars from Swaine, he delivers yet another catchy chorus, which, apart from the bars, seem to be the heavy focus of this album. Like, yes, this is a rap album, and Swaine does a really great job of creating interesting and complex rhymes, some really fun deliveries and flows, but the choruses here are really great, and they stand out a lot to me, especially in terms of Swaine's discography. The song, despite discussing the hours that Swaine has put in and the dedication that he has to his craft, has some pretty kind of fun, almost goofy standout bars. The line about planting grapefruits and making someone bitter was pretty good, and the wide ass nipples line is just downright funny. And then we have Your Boyfriend, where Swaine shifts the focus away from the state of the scene and his legacy to focus on a more relationship-oriented song. And the song is sensual, and beneath the anger that defines this album, it's one of the smoother tracks that sort of deviates the furthest away from the themes and motifs that are discussed and established here. And it's sort of R&B adjacent production backing these rhymes about Swaine being better than this person's significant other who he believes they are kind of just settling with. And the chorus really sticks the landing as well on this once again. I think that this album has just, I'm gonna just get it out of the way so I can stop not bringing it up, Swaine is fantastic at choruses, and this album solidifies that. And then we have Fit In, and Fit In sort of returns to Swaine's philosophy on the underground, this time taking shots at emo trap and artistic archetypes that many online personalities will adopt to promote their music and brand. And Swaine's vocal inflections and delivery on this have a really nice bounce to it. The, if I ever made an emo song, flow is pretty entertaining. And I think that this is maybe the most upfront Swaine is about his feelings and animosity towards his contemporaries on the project, stating that he doesn't really care to have any affiliation with them and has direct shots made at specific labels or, vague ideas of people. And on the production side of things, the insistent drums and the wavy chords sound very ethereal and sweet and do a great job of kind of juxtaposing Swaine's anger and bitterness towards certain groups of people in the underground. And then we have Funny Guy, where Swaine further flexes his ability to create unique vocal melodies in the beginning of the track, and then the transition into some reflections on his past and how his character has been perceived over the years really makes this song very personal for Swaine. And then it jumps to the present, where he talks about how people tend to fall into this horrible habit of asking artists and him to return to their older styles and aesthetics of music that they once made. And I think the line about people attempting to sort of use him as a proxy to communicate with Sewer Person, his longtime Night Vibes collaborator, is really interesting, because I think it puts an issue that maybe a lot of artists face into the forefront and gives it attention, where a lot of people will attempt to use others as stepping stones or use artists, that are bigger than them to get to artists that are bigger than that person. And it's a really toxic mindset, and I think it's really, interesting of Swaine to address this here, and I do think that it is appropriate for the tone of the song, and it's honestly, let him know. Let him fucking know, dude. And this song has very airy and angelic strings with these trippy drums that are really fun to listen to, and despite the bright and wavy sound of them, kind of do help establish the darker tone of the track. And then we have Dead Ringer, a boom bap track, which opens with what I can only guess to be Swaine mimicking a car engine. I don't have any notes, I just thought that was neat. And as we reach the last few tracks of the album, Swaine takes a step back from the more direct and linear narratives we've seen on the track so far to present more of a stream of consciousness type sort of flow and delivery and lyrics, touching on previously established topics in a more informal way. And I think that's a nice choice for this track. It maintains the persistent mood of anger and in some ways isolation that the rest of the album has showcased, but in a more freeform way that kind of lets Swaine focus on bars and rhyming and delivery. Hate is a track that opens up with this muddy bass and dusty snares and this choppy and kind of twitchy piano melody, which all blend together to make a pretty rustic and fun sound. And this track seems to be the highest point of hostility with the widest affected area, and where Swaine just kind of really lets it all out, flat out just saying how much hatred he has for certain people or certain methodologies of carrying oneself in the underground or just in music in general. And then we have Where's the Music, where we finally end things with an observation on how personalities and clout can overtake the artistic desire to create that kicked off people's careers to begin with. And I feel that in this hostility, Swaine subtly sprinkles in some honesty about his jealousy and confusion towards varying metrics of success that he measures himself by compared to people with maybe more mainstream popularity. And as the final round out of the shotgun that is this album, Swaine opens up about the sacrifices he made in order to commit to his passion, which I think is an appropriate way to end the album, where Swaine's fleeting vulnerability seems to justify much of the angry and somewhat bitter sentiment showcased throughout the project. And I will say this, Is Yours is an album by Swaine for Swaine, and whether or not you think that it's for you or you like it doesn't seem to really be a factor in how he feels about it, which is something that I can respect. And I think that what separates this album from the widespread bitter sentiment towards others that can come off as pretentious a lot of the time is that Swaine truly seems to believe in it, not just as an artistic personality to appeal to internet theater, but as an honest philosophy that he lives by. And also, it would be wrong of me not to acknowledge Eric Godlow's contributions to this project. He really made it come to life. If you like confident, aggressive rap paired with heavy boom bap production, ethereal melodies that kind of sound like they're from a bygone era of hip hop, then this is the album for you. And I'm really excited to see how Swaine finishes off this trilogy of albums, because Is Yours is a great change of pace. Honestly, Swaine has been so increasingly consistent over the years that all of his flows and songs and production kind of seem bulletproof by this point. But Is Yours was a really, it was fun to hear Swaine get angry. It was fun to hear some really raw and passionate energy come out of this bitterness towards a lot of the behaviors that people exhibit. And even outside of the context of this character that Swaine is presenting, of this energy and of this passion, the technical side of things too is really, really great. The production from Swaine and Godlow here is incredibly consistent. It is a lot of fun. It is kind of nostalgic in a way, and I think it does a really great job carrying the very important and standout bars and rhymes that Swaine is throwing at us at rapid fire pace here. Yeah, I like this album. It's pretty good. Until next time, where I review the new album by the artist you hate the most. Goodbye.